Well, welcome to the March 28th, 2023 session of Tangerine SDR and Ham Side Technical Session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I watched the Ham Side conference online last weekend. And this week I've been working on little projects around the shack. Still not quite to where I need to be, but bit by bit we get there. Anyway, that's it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. It is always a busy week for me. Last week was getting wrapped up from all the Hamsci workshop activities, which I was so happy with the Hamsci workshop, and I'm so glad everyone was able to come. It was really so much fun, and things worked out really, really well for it. So again, thank you, everybody. Some good news in another project. Christina had written a paper. I'm a co-author on it, and I think probably a few other people here are co-authors as well, about data from the grape receiver. And so that was positively reviewed and has now been accepted. So it's in the, Christina just finished the proofreading of the proof today. So we should be able to announce that it's published within the next week, or however long it takes to get through their final, publishing system. So that's very, very exciting and very good. Let's see, another, so that was a big deal. Just dealing with a lot of like paperwork. Oh, the ARRL, they also made a really nice video of John Gibbons about the new grape version that just came out. So I just saw a copy of that. It's about a 3-minute video that they'll probably be sharing over the next couple of weeks or so on social media. So that was really nice for getting good press from the ARRL as well. And perhaps the most important thing for this particular project this week is we have a new person online tonight who some of you have met. His name is Majid, and he is our lab engineer at the University of Scranton. And so we're going to formally bring him onto this team to work on the TangerineSDR. So he's going to work with Tom and Dave and Scotty and whoever else. So he'll be able to I have a TangerineSDR prototype at the university. I'll be able to give that over to him. We'll be able to buy the Cordis licenses. I spoke to Scotty on the phone today. I spoke to Scotty on the phone, Dave on the phone, and Tom on the phone today. And so I'm working with Scotty to get in touch with who we need to get with the Cordis licenses. So hopefully with Majid's helping Tom and other people, I think they'll be really good. And Majid is also good, works closely with our department chair who teaches the FPGA course at the university. So perhaps if we need yet another resource, we can have yet another person we can ask. So hopefully that'll help set things off in a good direction. So I'm hoping later in the open session, we can talk about the plans for doing the testing. And I want to make sure that I know what resources I need to allocate, how much money I need for the Cordis licenses, how much money I should be allocating for the cases for the project, for publications, things like that. And then that way I can figure out how to hopefully close out the grant successfully. So back to Nat.
Very good. Next on the list is Michael, AAAK. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, thank you. Greetings to everyone listening. Back to you, Dave.
Well, fine business. Michael and I have been having weekly conferences back to, it was 2007, 2008. So isn't that right, Michael?
Oh, yes. Graybeards.
So he's one of those people that always shows up. So thank you. Next on the list is Bill, AB4EJ. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening to you. Good evening to the net. a few things to report. Just cranked my tower down here, and this afternoon installed a preamplifier on my 2-meter Yagi, try and get a little bit better reception on 2 meters for doing some 2-meter DXing. Anyway, had some interactions with Ryan Volz at MIT Haystacks about how to optimize the reading of DRF data to try and speed up the production of spectrum plots, and he gave a couple of good ideas on that. So we're going to be working on incorporating that into our system. And also, I have developed a new system for, there's a few people running the Grape One collecting data in DRF format. Todd and Stan and myself. Anyway, I have a new system for automatically controlling that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the observations be 24 hours each. Start a new one.
I like that.
Yeah, rather than having to go 6 months and become 20, 30, 40 gigabytes in size. So
yeah, this is a good.
Yeah, we're going to start a fresh one, and I've got a package that automatically detects when it's 00 UTC, and it closes off the existing observation. And that required a new Python module to run inside the GNU radio, so it can detect the new observation when it starts, and kill the existing running task, and it's going to start up and get the new observation number. In the meantime, in parallel, you start an upload going to upload the previous day's data while the new one starts at the same time. So that's being tested. I've tested it a few days. It's working okay. And Stan and Todd and I are going to do beta testing on that over the course of the next week or two. And then we should be able to report how that's going. And my students are working on a package. There is a queuing mechanism that you can put into Unix, which will allow us to create work packages. And as these observations come in, even if we get 100 of them all uploaded at the same time, it will get them and put them into a queue. So that they will run them as we get to them, so that we'll be able to provide plotted spectrum results without having server crash due to overload. Everything will be handled doing a queuing mechanism. So anyway, making progress on that. So been busy here, as you can gather. So like everybody.
Quick message to Bill.
I'm sorry?
Quick message for you. If your students are interested in going to the CDR workshop, they can submit an abstract this week and apply for student funding. And I know you came to the CDR workshop last year, and I think it's really valuable to go, and I think it's a lot of fun too. So I don't know if they think the same thing, but
I will pass that along. So we'll see. As you know, once the end of the semester goes, the students are like, poof,
yeah,
they disappear. But
you
I
know,
will make that offer.
Yeah, it's an all expense paid trip to San Diego with lots of fancy dinners.
Yeah, but I don't know that they care about that. But we'll make the offer. We'll make the offer.
My students like it.
Okay, is that it, Bill? Okay. Next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Good evening, all. The exciting thing here has been our weather. We activated ARES last night and kept it activated overnight. I had the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift. So if I look like I'm nodding off a little bit tonight, I am. Then the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift got canceled because nothing's happening then. They needed to wait until 8 o'clock or so to get the sun up so they could start doing a visual on the damage. And the net was pretty busy, I guess about 6-7 hours, taking reports of damage from around this part of the state. But hopefully we earned our medal with the Weather Bureau, which happens to have their regional forecast center right in our backyard. And so that's about the most exciting thing that's been happening around here recently. Back to Net.
Well, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. I'm sure they did too. Next on the list is Bob. And that's the Bob, it's just Bob. Go ahead, Bob. He doesn't seem to want to talk. Your mic's muted. Bob doesn't seem to want to talk. So we'll go to the next one, Bob in 5 BRG. Go ahead, Bob.
I'll talk to you. Hello, everybody. Nothing exciting to report here, making progress on my projects, but no exciting information. So back to you, Dave.
Okay. Next on the list is David in 1 HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we've got weather, but not like some places. We got wind and we have snow, but yeah, spring's not given up quite yet. Very much appreciated the ham-sci workshop. I'm glad to be out from in front of the fire hose and was able to get to Jenny Jump in New Jersey on the way home, both to check up on one of our AM Doppler receivers, which is currently online, and do some work and pick some stuff up for Yeoman's project. And we certainly had some excitement ionosphere-wise this past week with a very strong geomagnetic storm, and we actually saw some aurora here in New Hampshire. It was a bit cloudy to the north and diffuse aurora, but it was there. It's the first aurora I've seen of this cycle, I guess. So hope to see more. This is looking like a good cycle. So back to Net.
Very good. Next on the list is Dylan in KN6 IVW. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hello. This is sorry. Yes. Doing pretty good. Just out here in the dark trying to put some Zerk fittings together and grease up some of our machines. Really hard to do that. Try to hold a light, your phone, and the grease gun at the same time, and then try and keep the sinking Zerk connector on the Zerk fitting. Very, very fun. So nothing else. Haven't gotten to work on the second version of the Tangerine case yet, but I will get to that at some point. And nothing really else, so I'll send it back to Net Control.
Very good. Thank you. Next on the list is, let's see, where are we? Well, okay. Ed in 3DGH. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. It's Ed. We certainly enjoyed the ham-sci conference. It's the third one that I've been to, and each one gets better and better. Gladys and I, and Gladys at N3DXW and I are going through parts lists now to put together a grape. And we probably will we're going to attempt to build two of them. One for our location in Westchester. Right now we're on vacation in Florida. And the second one portable, and we do visit solar eclipses, so we'll try to put that one right under the pathway of the eclipse. Anyway, that's our status, and back to Ned.
Well, very good. And next on the list is Gary, AF8A. Go ahead, Gary.
Good evening, Dave and the group. Been doing a few behind the scenes things for HamSci here the past week or so. I just took a look on my calendar and I just noticed it's 52 days until the Dayton Hamvention. So while we still have the warm glow coming off the HamSci workshop, we're working toward the next one.
Oof. Need to
and
buy our
just a
lab
note-
coats.
Yes, I actually, mine came while I was in Scranton. So the all heart information that's on the HamSci website from last year is still valid. So that's a good thing. That's about it. Back to that.
Okay, next on the list is Hillman, KD2 MCR. Go ahead, Hillman.
Good evening, everyone. Nothing particular to report this week. Although the data portal project is still ongoing, we're making progress. So just as Nathaniel mentioned, yeah, we'll be going to Colorado together as part of the NASA LWS program, Living with the Star program. I actually visited Goddard Space Flight Center at NASA in Greenbelt, Maryland last week as part of the other project that I'm involved in, the LWS project. So I had a chance to visit the facility over there. I saw pretty big thermal vacuum chamber that can have the entire satellite, and a class 10 clean room facility, which is pretty big. I guess by definition, 10 particles, less than 10 particles per cubic feet. So pretty clean. But unfortunately, it was Friday. There are very few people actually working in the lab. So I didn't really see many people in the lab coat or the anti-static suits and stuff. And also, unfortunately, I wasn't able to see any satellite going project because everything actually is now in commission. So, you know, the lab was pretty empty. Anyways, it was a pretty interesting experience. Hopefully I can see something more exciting like next time. Yeah, other than that, I have nothing to report. So back to Ned.
Okay, next on the list is Jay, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Well, I joined everybody else in who was at HamSci and staying. It was really a great 2 days there. Really enjoyed it. And it was just really outstanding to see all the work that not only the group is going on, but also Nathaniel, your plans and the way you're getting funding to put up the new station and the antenna and the new ham shack. That was like a woohoo moment. Question, Nathaniel, you mentioned getting a license for something for a software package. Could you, when we get to general Q&A, could you explain what that is, please? I'm not familiar with that. Other than that, nothing in particular to report. Got a lot of stories, travel stories about the way home and other stories about my voyage to the East Coast. 7-3 to all, and I'll be listening on the side. Back to Ned.
Okay, and we will have a discussion, Jay, about that after we get to the end of the list. Next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Have you dug out of the snow yet?
The snow is melting, but we're expecting more Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, it just doesn't quit out here. So I'm getting kind of tired of that. Got a pretty sore arm from doing all the shoveling. Grape has been busy. If I may share my screen, I'm going to push that little button.
Go ahead.
And oh, where are we here? Okay, share. Okay, how do I get rid of the Zoom thing? Like that.
Well,
Okay.
You're showing.
The top graph is a very typical every day or happens almost every day. As David mentioned, we had a pretty interesting geomagnetic storm, and the left side of this graph shows the results of that compared to that at the upper part. So anyway, quite a spectacular difference in all of the Doppler shifts. The signal strength didn't change all that much, but boy, the Doppler sure did. Okay, so how do I unshare? Probably click on this one. Anyway, that's what I've got from here. Thank you, Dave.
And
You're back. Thank you.
Joe, a suggestion. You've been collecting this data for a while, and I know that you show us what's going on once in a while. One thing you can do is you can start making like a case book of every all the times like KP is greater than 7, all the times KP is between 5 and 7, all the times KP is between 3 and 5, and then see if you see similarities for the different cases, so that you can say, okay, when we have a geomagnetic storm, this is typically what we see in the grape, and then we might be able to explain why.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea.
Great.
Thank you.
Very,
You're
very
welcome.
good. Next, I believe is John, KA4RXP. Go ahead, John. John,
There we
there?
go. Yeah, is
Oh.
it, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, very, very good. Yeah, this is my first visit. I got a email from Nathaniel early this morning and promptly put it in my little calendar of events. Just a couple of real quick things. The first thing is, does anybody have any experience with a Collins mechanical filter? It was built back in the 50s and 60s. It was an engineering and milling marvel. I've got a plan to build one, but I don't know the pinout on the filter, and I'm searching anything that has old ham radio operators in it. So
Wasn't it bidirectional?
well, I think so. It doesn't seem like it has any polarity. Mine has 3 pins, and one is an input from the local oscillator, and the other is a second input that's grounded, tied to ground, and it's a 500 kilohertz IF, and it's supposed to be just magic as far as being able to beat even a set of Millen IF coils from the old days. So if anybody knows about those 3 pins, I need to know.
Yeah, the ones that I've seen have 3 pins on the input and 3 pins on the output. The 2 outer pins were the transformer that excites the input, and the center was ground, and the same on the output. And I think they were about 1.5 K ohms impedance is my recollection.
Okay, so the center one is, you consider that the ground, and then put the inputs on the 2, and then it goes to a some kind of a trifilar toroid transformer. So that helps out. The second thing is Joe, W7LUX. Did you used to be on the Saturn Digital Net on Saturday mornings? And one other thing, I'm going to be Maritime Mobile August the 8th, and I'm going to try to check into all of the nets on the free Wi-Fi that I get on the ship. Do you think Zoom will work that way, or do I just figure going audio only? And that concludes everything that I think I wanted to talk about.
Okay, from Joe, yes, I used to be involved in that, but that whole digital net just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, I used to talk to you quite a bit on Saturday morning from Memphis out to you, and I recognized the call. So yeah, so hello again.
Yes, well, hello, John.
Okay, back to that.
And okay, and I don't hear anybody that has an answer for your marine mobile question.
I'd
Okay,
say give it a try.
I'll give it a try for sure, but I just didn't know. I'm sure nobody except me has ever had that kind of problem to deal with. But I do want to stay in touch with the Thursday evening or Thursday afternoon net, and I'm going to check in for the first time Thursday morning for the grape with the Case Western people. And and I'm working on my article. That's I've got circuit boards going off to China, so now I'm going to start researching the last part of my article on the operational things to do during the course of the eclipse in October and April.
well, very good. Good luck on your trip.
I just put one website in for Collins filter info, and I see Michael just put something for the company itself. Well, more info.
Okay, well, I will check.
They
all
are
of those
common.
out.
I mean, you can certainly find them in schematics for radios of that vintage. I've got
Yeah,
a
but
few in the lab.
You know, if you try to find one, I've got 4 or 5 pulled circuit boards, but the dadgone things are all epoxied in. So they're basically unobtainable. I think you'd destroy the filter if you tried to break up that epoxy that's anchoring them in. No telling what they were going in. I guess they were maybe man pack radios.
Well, are you done?
I am.
Okay, so next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. I kind of took a little break this week. There hasn't really been much action with events on the VLF system. However, I was working a little bit more on the hardware build and looking to get that further along. I'm also working on the layout of an article for Nathaniel regarding my system. I also wanted to congratulate Nathaniel and Rachel and everybody involved for such a wonderful ham sci. There was a lot of collaboration and a lot of different topics covered, but a lot of really good content, and it was nice to meet so many of you, and also nice to meet people that were very interested in the VLF side of things. It was one of the things I wanted to mention was Mr. LaBelle. He's one of the rock stars of auroral research, radio research, and he mentioned to me that he really enjoyed my presentation, and he liked that I had fresh data. That was just taken just a couple weeks before the event. So overall, it was very, very nice time. And I hope to continue more on this hardware and get it further along. I would like to hopefully demo and test the H field receiver and hopefully get that installed and verify everything works. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay, next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello, everyone. I enjoyed the HAMSI workshop and enjoyed meeting many of you. But I really haven't got anything else to say today. So over to you.
Okay. Next on the list is Majid. Majid, welcome. And I believe you've been here before, but I hear you're going to get busy.
I'm happy that Nathaniel invited me into this group. I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
Well, very good. And any other comments?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
And let's see, next on the list is Noel, WB0VGI. Go ahead, Noel.
Hey, good evening to all of you. For those of you that don't know me, I am part of what's called the SMART network. It's a network of search coils and magnetometers that we're running around the country. We're also developing a low-cost magnetometer system that folks can just watch the magnetic field of the Earth. We're trying to do it down at the high school or college level. We have about 8 sites running around the country, and we run from using the RM3100, which is a simple magnetometer that's easily available for installation. I have a number of them running around the country. I have 4 of them sitting right here and running. So for those of you that are interested in magnetometers, you certainly can give us a call. And that's all I have. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, very good. And next on the list is Tom in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, good evening, Dave, and everyone in the group. And I'll echo everyone else saying I had a wonderful time in HAMSI. Great conference, everything ran smoothly, and Nathaniel and all his volunteers did an incredible amount of work, good papers, and it was great. The posters were good. It was wonderful to chat with the authors on the posters for a while, so that was nice. Let's see, first thing, I finished, I think, the Verilog for phase 1B test. I got it built. It broke timing, but only at 85 degrees C, not at 0. And in fact, it boots. And so as long as the FPGA is kept cool, it comes up and runs. This is the test that allows us to try to read in the burst data from the receiver. I figured out how to put timing constraints on one of the modules. The big aha moment was where Verilog uses periods to separate hierarchy and other tools use slashes like a Linux directory structure. Fortis uses the vertical pipe symbol to delineate hierarchies. And once we figured that out, then I was able to actually identify signals and attach timing constraints to them. So that was kind of the big breakthrough. I'm now writing the C code to get started on the phase 1B test. I've got all the drivers and symbols pulled in. And there's a couple new modules, and my past experience has been, you got to read the driver code every time because the instructions don't quite match the actual code. I found a test mode in the A to D converter chip where you can put it in test mode. It disconnects the analog part of the chip and it puts out a repetitive minus full scale to plus full scale ramp signal as digital words. And that I think will be extremely helpful in debugging at least the Verilog and the FPGA and making sure that the right words are coming out. Once that's working, then I'll turn on the analog mode and start the next phase of test 1B. So it was a good week overall and still tons of stuff to do. Back to the group.
Okay, I believe I've called on everybody. I don't see anybody that I haven't called on. So Nathaniel, you wanted to have some time to talk about the FPGA licenses.
Could
Yeah.
we have Dave, KD0EAG mute? We're getting echo through him.
Oh, okay.
Got that.
Thank you.
So I think what I'd like to do a couple things. I have some we've made some progress on the Quartus license situation so far, because I did get in touch with Scotty today. So I was on the phone with him and he did say that he would put me in touch with his Quartus representative. So he hasn't done that yet, but I do have that email off to him. I'll try to follow up again tomorrow. I think so I know that Tapper already has an ARDC grant awarded to purchase at least 2 Quartus licenses for Tapper. And so now just what has to happen is it actually has to be purchased and implemented, but the money is there. So, and similarly, I think in those licenses, they're floating licenses that could be checked out by, anyone within Tapper, or that Tapper deems is appropriate to check them out to support the TangerineSDR and other, Tapper projects. Scotty says that he thinks that those 2 licenses will be sufficient for working on the TangerineSDR, because you just have to check them out at compile time. I think that it also makes sense that if we do have Majid working on this, it probably makes sense for the University of Scranton to also purchase its own Quartus license. So I'd say we'd at least purchase one run by the University of Scranton. And then that way Scranton always has one to check out as well. The Scotty said that these need to be put on some sort of a server. If we make it a server that's not behind some sort of university firewall, like if we use a Linode system, then that makes it's the most flexible for, different people from different institutions to use. So Linodes are incredibly cheap, as we all know. They're only like $5 a month for the smallest one. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer to just get a $5 a month Linode and make that the license server. And, we can do a separate one for the University of Scranton and then a separate one for Tapper, or we can just put them all on the same license server for now. And either way, but like once we get one of them figured out, then it should be pretty easy to figure out how to do the other one. So I think Majid and I we can take the lead on trying to get the Quartus license up and running for the University of Scranton. And then if someone on the Tapper side of things either wants to be in on our conversations or kind of take the lead on getting the Tapper one purchased and implemented, since Tapper has control of those funds, that probably makes the most sense.
Okay, normally I think John Ackerman has done most of that stuff. Dave, is John still doing those things?
Not as much as he used to.
Okay.
But it's like me, all of that stuff is 7 or 8 years old in our head, and trying to remember what I did 7 or 8 years ago is I can remember doing it, but I can't remember exactly the details.
I think what makes sense is maybe for like us to start by, the first thing is to get Scotty to tell us the name and contact information of the Quartus rep. So once we get that, and is there a particular version of Quartus we're supposed to be requesting, or if we talk to the rep, is it just obvious if we tell them we're doing the Intel Max 10?
I think, yeah, you can ask the rep. I think that when the year that you buy the license gives you access to all current and previous products.
Okay.
And that when the license expires at the end of a year, it's still good, or at least the node locked one is still good. I don't know about the
That
floating.
is not necessarily true, because they drop out older devices.
Well, right. So currently active older packages like Fortis 20.1 which is what we're using on Tangerine right now, still work. And I believe Scotty told me, and again, this is from Scotty, that the current and previously still active products are available on the license. If you buy a license in 2023, for example, and it expires at the end of the year, for the node lock version, you could still continue to use it, but you can't update to any newer package from the year in which the license was granted. That's my understanding.
And for those of you that aren't programmers, the process involves installing quite a bit of software, the whole package, which includes several submodules. And you can then work on the code, but you just can't put it into the FPGA until you download the license and then use it. And then the idea is once you were done with your pieces, you put the license back so somebody else could use it.
Yeah, there are a couple of other things that a license provides. And this is the problem I ran into this week. And that a licensed version can do incremental compilation and can do incremental fitting in place and route. So for example, the case I ran into, the timing worked. Then I added a couple of reset signals and the timing was broken. And I believe if you're on a licensed version, you could do a place and route and fit on the previous version and then lock the fit in place. Then you could add the additional stuff and you could continue the place and route and fitting without disturbing what you had already fitted and placed and routed. And so you can get timing working in chunks and then add new stuff without breaking the old timing. That's my understanding. If it's true, that's something that I'm pretty much at the point needing right now.
So
Now, again, I don't know if that's node locked or floating or if they work the same. You know, that's a Scotty question.
So I guess I'll try to call Scotty again tomorrow,
Yeah.
and see if I can get him to really get me that information of the rep and then try to get things rolling. I think what I'll
Okay.
try and do is we'll try to get the Scranton one kind of going first, but then say, oh, by the way, Tapper also wants to buy this, can you work with them? And then I don't know who you want me to put in touch. I can maybe Dave Larson. Should he be my point of contact?
That or
John
probably
Ackerman.
John Ackerman, I would say right now.
Okay.
Because he knows more about, I know about some things, but I think John's the most active person in our networking group. And he is also well aware of the financing.
Okay, great. So then, yeah, so I'll, and, I communicate fairly regularly with John, so I can do that. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's run most of the Tapper IT systems. And
Mhm.
so he knows how to run remote servers. He's quite Unix literate. He's very accomplished at all that stuff.
Great.
Yes. And
Great.
right now he is leading up some of the cleanup project on our website. So he's kind of the key person.
That sounds really good. So I will be in touch with him then.
Yep.
And the other useful thing that Scotty told me was that the Quartus guy should be able to give us a temporary license while we're trying to get all of the actual purchasing in order.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like we might be able to get up and running quickly, even while we're trying to. I know the university, whenever you buy software, there's a process.
Oh, yes.
It's a process.
I would definitely take advantage of your department head's experience with this too.
Yes. And Majid is actually, I think Majid's reasonably experienced with this also. Majid does a lot of our purchasing and deals with a lot of the process.
Yes.
So
Couple of comments I would have is that sometimes the floating licenses are not as simple as you might think they are. So you'll just want to visit with the guys about what the restrictions and things are on. And then also I would suggest that everybody work with the same version of Quartus so that the whole project is sort of marching along with the one version.
Yeah.
And then, and probably you're going to have to,
version is 20.1.
yeah.
So just for historical context, with the Open HPSDR, we weren't completely using license ones because the free one did quite a bit at that time. But we did have some licensing available. And generally what we ended up doing was producing compiled, in the case of Open HPSDR, they were RBFs, but they could also be .rbf files or .sof files. Huh?
Did we lose audio?
Did I? Can you hear me, Nathaniel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So what we do is produce compiled code and then post that on a GitHub. And then you could download the compiled code and use just the programmer to put it in place. And then in the past, for people who weren't developing, we wrote programmers that only put the code in.
Yeah, one of the differences between that project and this project is that Phil created all his own intellectual property.
Yes.
And all Verilog. We are using a lot of the Intel intellectual property. That IP cannot be downloaded to the FPGA without a license or a tether because it's encrypted. And so a programmer doesn't know how to decrypt it and download it. And the second thing is the Intel IPA's got a 1-hour timer on it. And so when you download it, you have to be tethered to the host computer with a JTAG cable the entire time. Because as soon as you untether, the FPGA quits working and it only works for 1 hour. And so because we're using that intellectual property, we have a much stronger need for a license than the previous project.
Yes, that's everything Tom has said is correct.
The challenge I see there is, though maybe Tom can answer this, is how multiple developers can work and share the pieces as they're put in place so that they can pull them together when they want to test something.
Yeah, that of course is revision control and Git. Right now, the project is at a point, I think, where we have 2 tasks that can run independently in parallel. And one task is on the dev kit, the test 1B and test 1C test conditions. The other task is porting the existing test 1A code over to the new data engine. And that means starting from the existing GitHub repository and then making the changes that allow it to run on the data engine. The data engine has got several differences from the dev kit that need to be changed. Of course, the pinout is different, but Scotty's done a lot of work there. The other changes are the DDR3 RAM is different RAM, and the QSPI flash is different flash. And so the things that talk to those two, which again, DDR3 memory and QSPI interface are all intellectual property of Intel. Those have to be modified in order to talk to the versions of those things on the data engine. But I think those two tasks could be run quite independently in parallel.
And then the other thing is, how long is it taken to make a build to, and you would be tying the license up during that whole time, I guess, right?
Right, right. My builds are currently running 15 minutes.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. When I was trying to figure out how to insert the timing constraints, I think I went through 40 builds trying to debug it. And, you know, that was maybe a total of 10 or 12 hours worth of build time in that process. So I think the floating license approach may be useful. The key question here is, when the 1-year time frame is up, can we still use them for the old versions like you can with the node locked ones or not? That's an important question. One of the reasons that we're on 20.1 is the later versions of Quartus drop support for the TCP IP stack. And so when you go to a later version, then there's a problem. And so buying licenses this year, 20.1, I'm pretty sure will still work. And we also, Scotty needs the license because the Eris, which is the new successor to the Max 10 device, doesn't have a free version. You have to use the licensed version on Eris to do anything at all.
You mean the
And-
ARIA or the?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the ARIA part. The ARIA part can't be done with the free. You have to have a licensed version to do anything with it.
So I guess one question is, another thing I'd like to spend a little time talking about is what are some tasks for Majid to do now to get started, and how would we integrate him into the whole planning or development process? I think to get him started, I can make some suggestions. Right now, Kung, is familiar with this system. He has a laptop that I've given him to work on this system. Kung will be graduating this May. Kung, it is easy for Kung to meet with Majid in person. So I think we could have Kung meet with Majid and do both a knowledge and a hardware transfer. So Kung could give Majid the development laptop and could also give Majid a tutorial of what he's been doing with the current hardware, and basically get Majid up to speed with as far as Kung knows so far.
Yeah,
And then
Kung was successful in taking the code for test 1A on GitHub, building it, compiling it, and he got a successful build through Quartus and through the Neos compiler. And so if you have a development kit version with a data engine adapter,
which we do,
right, it should be possible to bring that up from what's already up on GitHub. And Kung, my guess, would be able to do that fairly quickly. Might be able to help Majid get that up and running. And that process alone is worth a lot. Just, figuring out how the tools work, what all the weird quirks are for programming and compiling, all of that. So if we could get that up and running, then we'd have a system that works from the software development point of view. Then the second task might be the port of that version of code, the test 1A code, over to the new data engine, because that can be done, quite independently of anything else going on in GitHub, anything else going on in test 1B and 1C.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
Majid, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, this is a good plan, and I tried to get all the information from him, and as you said, the laptop, that we have some hardware to work on. It would be easy to see, the environment, basically, get more familiar with the environment.
Yeah, Majid, I did a video on YouTube on how to bring up 1A on the Dell development kit and data engine adapter. You can just go to YouTube /@N5EG and you'll find my YouTube channel. It's the only video up there. It's about 25 minutes and it walks you through how to bring the dev kit up and make it run. So I'm sure there'll be unanswered questions because there's a lot of moving parts in Quartus. But with Kwong and you in the video, I think you could get that up fairly readily.
Great, thank you. Yeah, sure.
Nathaniel, I need to tell you, I have a time sensitive thing that I gotta do here. So I'll be dropping out at 9 o'clock.
I think that sounds good. We might bring it to a close. I have one question. I think this is mostly for David McGaw, but other people might find it interesting too. My wife likes to go running early in the morning on the weekends. And so yesterday morning, she took this photo on her early morning run. And she said she was looking southeast and she saw this there. And I was wondering if this might be a sounding rocket coming off of Wallops Island.
It might have been. I know there was a launch scheduled around this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Which
so-
direction was that looking?
I think she said
Does-
she was looking southeast.
Yeah,
So it's
that would
Sunday,
be in the
7:15
direction.
a.m. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was in the correct direction.
Right. If you check on their sounding rocket program site, they should list the current missions.
Yeah, I was I did a quick Google search for that, and the most recent, here's their launch schedule.
Yeah,
I
take
didn't
a look.
see anything. Okay, March 18th, nighttime.
That would be the opening of the launch window, so it could have been that. The launch
That's
window
from-
is generally like a week.
But that's from Andoya.
Oh, that's indoors. Sorry. Right. I don't think you
So-
saw it from there.
I don't think so.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
There
I
might
mean,
also be launches that aren't part of the sounding rocket program
right.
because there are commercial launches.
Okay.
That's the upcoming list. You may have to go to the list of rockets
Previous.
already been launched.
Yeah.
Well, what was the date that she saw it?
March 17th. No, March
17th.
no. It was just this past Sunday. So what was that?
Yeah, it's the 25th
The 25th. Yes, March 25th.
or 6th, right? 26th.
Oh wait, so
Because that was like yesterday.
yeah, yesterday. Sorry, it feels like so long ago.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay. Well, interesting.
it's a neat photo if nothing else, but
Yeah.
it looks very much like a rocket. What I would expect a rocket to look like.
Right. Well, it's kind of going the wrong way for the space station.
Hmm.
I presume that the shutter was open for a while.
Could that be
Well,
a re-entry of some kind?
Could also be that, but
We don't know.
interesting.
I'll just mark it up as another, under conspiracy theory as another UFO.
Or whatever they're calling them now.
Well, now, is this a photo that Rachel took with a
cell phone.
or-
Yeah, she took it with a cell phone.
Wow.
She got
pretty
Had to
good.
be it had to be an iPhone 12 or better to get that.
Yeah.
But there was
It was
a
a Samsung Galaxy S20.
really,
S20.
Yeah, so she
Hmm.
sent me. There's the other one.
Well, there was a picture a little while ago, maybe on Fox or something, that showed a series of bright lights almost like in a row, and it was space junk. Yeah, it was something that was just burning up on re-entry.
So this was the morning of Sunday?
Yes. 7:15 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
She sent these.
I have a meteor camera and I'm look at observations of, I have it looking at the sky all the time, looking for meteors coming in that turn into fireballs, hopefully. And there's a lot of other guys on this global meteor network, but most of those meteors were more of a long slanted line. They could be tilted down towards the earth, and if they have
something
a bright flash,
something that bright would have been reported.
Mhm.
Is this something that was there and then it appeared to burn out,
I don't know.
or did it continue across the sky?
I'd have to ask her.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask Nathaniel, are you keeping track of who's going to Hamvention?
I haven't been yet, but I think that's something we will be doing. I've talked to Gary. Yeah, Gary's still here. He's supposed to be working up our Hamvention situation.
Yeah, we've got a page started showing some of the forum talks, but we really haven't finalized anything, so I haven't made it public at all.
Okay. I presume you'll be looking for people to hang around the booth and such.
Absolutely. Yes, they're gonna be there in full force this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Majid
by
said
way of
he's-
saying I'm planning to be there.
that I like it. Majid's planning on going. I'm gonna try to recruit as many students as I can. Of course. So it's gonna be, Majid's never been to a Hamvention before, I think.
Yeah, that's gonna be first for me.
Yeah. You have to, the way I explain it to people is imagine a 4-H fair where you have like lots of pigs, goats, and sheeps, right? But now replace all of the pigs, goats, and sheeps with radio parts.
Well, don't worry, Majid. I'll be in your club.
Oh, I thought you were talking about us.
Well, if he's the first time, all I can say is rookie.
If you like electronics, this is the place to be.
I think it'll be my 20th year in a row going there.
That's how we met, Bill.
Yeah.
Met at you just wrote that thing for QRZ.com and you left a couple of copies on my table.
The funny thing is, I actually have been to the fairgrounds in Xenia where the Dayton Hamvention is, and I never even knew it. I found out later after, I went there before the Hamsci workshop, and then like a month later, I go to the Hamsci workshop, find out about the Dayton Hamvention, and then look at it, and then find out we actually stayed in the parking lot of the fairgrounds that they have that in. So I thought it was kind of funny that I've already seen the location without actually going there for the Hamvention.
And how big was the event you were at? How many people?
No, this was we were actually picking up some items for ourselves. It was actually a little mini excavator, and when we did that, we had some stuff that we were shipping, and we had some shipments that didn't line up, so we stayed overnight at the fairgrounds, and find out later that that's where they hold the Hamvention.
Now imagine that piece of ground with over 30,000 people.
That's crazy. That many people, that's crazy.
I have two more questions before I go. One is, how much money should I save for actually producing a case for these things? And I think we probably do need an actual metal case, and we have to have it not be too expensive. So 3D printing, it's probably not a good choice.
And yes, that's something that I can do, but
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that once we have our, I guess, final design, and then from
Right.
there work out all the things, and then create the design, and then figure out who will be able to send it to manufacture it for the price that you're looking for. I do understand that you want to get a metal one, but I will definitely look into that and find who can do it for the price that you're looking for.
Dylan, how are you at CNC programming?
I have not tried it before, but I am sure I can learn it very quickly.
That's probably what we'd end up doing, is finding a case and then machining the openings.
Majid, we don't have a CNC. do we?
We have one of those TIG CNC. Those are like a macro CNC.
A micro CNC.
The x-axis is about I believe about it's maybe 20-inch. Y-axis is about 11-inch. So it's a small CNC.
That might be sufficient.
That should be plenty big enough for our unit.
Yeah. Okay.
So I do want to say this.
We're running Linux CNC on it, and I have a background programming the SolidWorks a bit. So if I have something some model, I could put in a cam and then to see how that works.
Do you think is like saving $2,000, $2,500 for this sufficient?
How big the case going to be? That's
probably about what, maybe 6 inches by 6 inches by 3 inches, maybe.
I have the dimensions. It's 124 centimeters. I cannot do the conversion.
That's fine. Yeah, I understand centimeters.
124 millimeters in length. So from the if you measure the, what's it called, the RF board, the length of the RF board is 124 millimeters. But then the case itself is going to be about like 122.
Okay.
Well, from what I've tried building my own stuff, I would say that even with a well-equipped CNC, I have a Tormach. The hold downs and getting everything set up properly, it's so much easier just to send it off to a house, let them use their multi-punch press to, because you're going to have 5, 6, or 8 or 10 external holes on the sides, and then you've got stuff for the standoffs in the middle of on the inside. I would go to the next manufacturing show and just walk around and see who's got the equipment that can make the box after they punched it out, and just even do the spot welding.
Hey mom, timer's up. So I have something real quick. So for the CNC machining, the initial setup for CNC is cheaper. For the 3D printing, if you 3D printed it out of metal, that is more expensive initially. But if you print in, same with CNC, when you print in large batches, the price goes down per case.
Right.
But with the 3D printing, you will have a much cheaper case than the CNC itself, like per case, if you do it in large quantities, because the 3D printing, you don't have to worry about tool breakage, and it's a lot more streamlined in the sense for CNC machining, you have to go from different, you have to change the position of the part and then machine different sides, whereas the 3D printing, you build up from the bottom layer and up, and it's not the same as plastic FDM printing, it's a lot better.
Let's say for this project, we have, I don't know, 20 prototypes. How much money should I budget for 20 cases for that?
Would I be able to get back to you on that? I'll be able to, I'll submit a quote for my previous design on 20 cases. And I'll get you a quote for that.
That sounds great. So that's something to think about. And then the other question I had is, I think we should aim, I know Hyomin is working on the paper for Hardware X for the magnetometer. I think we should probably come up with a Hardware X paper for the Tangerine SDR as well. And that's probably going to be complicated. So we probably need to start thinking about who's going to write it or how we're going to put that together. And I guess we'll have to think about who's going to do that. And maybe we should discuss that when Dave Larson and when Tom McDermott are, well, Tom's here.
Well, how many of the Tangerine cases do we think that we're eventually going to want to make further down the road? Because something like that in quantity, I mean, wouldn't you want to like injection mold it? A metal case? Just asking.
Let me comment on this, on the previous Tapper cases that we made, or that were made. They punched those out of sheet metal and folded them, and they had just large square cutouts in them. And then they had individual flat plates that would cover those larger square cutouts with all the smaller connector and knobs and things like that that needed to be added. And then you can silk screen those flat plates because you're going to want to have a nice looking face on it with all kinds of markings and things too. So it's a multi-step thing to build a case. And if in anything like this, it's in volume, you're going to get cheaper prices in volume. But Tapper ended up buying quite a few cases, usually because the price break would drive them to want to do that. Then they would sell those excess cases later to people to use for other projects. But you know, if this program, what you got to think about is if this program is successful, how many of these things are you going to build? 1,000? Are you going to build 500? And if the numbers are smaller, then you can get away with just doing CNC machining and cobble them out. But you're going to spend $150 or something like that per case doing that. And if it's got RF, if you're sensing RF or you don't want to have RF in the shack, you're going to want to use a metal case and not an injection molded. If you do injection molding, you're going to spend $15,000 to $25,000 on a mold to mold them. So you're going to spend a lot of money doing that.
Yeah, I'm into injection molded metal.
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, these are things to think about. I think, why don't we call 73 for tonight? And then we'll pick these things up again next week.
Okay, Nathaniel, real quick question. You mentioned a paper and Hardware X. I didn't quite understand this paper.
So I was thinking a paper to describe the Tangerine SDR and the personal space weather station.
Okay.
That's so, yeah, basically a peer reviewed paper to publish what we've done.
Okay.
And document it.
Got it.
That would be, so I guess the way to do it would be, Scotty, I'd probably write the kind of introduction and the conclusion to frame the whole thing. We'd probably ask Scotty to write the part about the data engine, and probably ask you to write the part about the RF module. We'd probably ask John to write the part about the clock module, and then we'd tie it all together at the end.
Sure.
And we'd have to include the BOM and the schematics and, you know, the other files that go along with it. So
okay.
I think that's how it would work.
Very good.
Okay.
One quick real thought, there's two places, the Hamilton up in Canada that sells transformers, but they also sell a whole line of cases. And then of course there's MFJ down in Starkville that
Yeah.
they make a lot of cases, and they've got the facilities to just punch, one sheet of aluminum or whatever, stainless,
Yeah.
with a die set. And the thing is, you've got to lay it out. That getting the layout is where the critical issue is.
I think another thing, and this is probably a discussion to have when more like Tapper board members are back on here, when Dave Larson gets back. Tim Duffy at DX Engineering is very interested in partnering with us for production or selling things. And he said he has production facilities. So that's something to consider as well. I think if we were to put something through DX Engineering, it's got to be right. Like we don't want to sell any product through DX Engineering that is not, ready for prime time. But if we do have something that really is ready for prime time, I think that's something to consider. As I said, we have to talk to the Tapper board members to make sure that's something they would want to do.
And that would work out perfect because especially for cases,
yeah,
if you can get something worked out for manufacturing for those, that would dramatically reduce the prices also.
So I think for the purposes of this project and this grant, we should just say, okay, let's make, I have to talk to Scotty again about how many prototype boards we have. We need to make 15 to 20 metal cases. That's it. If we're going to end up scaling this up to something much bigger, I think then we revisit the case situation and we'd be working with some other manufacturer. But for the main mandate right now, in order to be successful on this grant, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to show 6 working TangerineSDR prototypes that can collect data and have them in a nice little box, and we can show that these things work and that we have a path forward to producing them. But details like coming up with a case in production quantities, like you've said, certain cases are cheaper if you build them just a couple of them. Other techniques make more sense if you're building many different ones. I think right now for this prototype, we just do the 15 to 20 cases and then call it a day. So I think we'll go from there then.
Very good. Well, we'll see you all next week. And Majid, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you too. Thank you.
Have a good
Thanks,
week, everyone.
everybody.
73.
Y'all.
73. Have a great night.
73.
7-3.